Guys, welcome to part 2 of the Salem ghosts. Hopefully, I can get through it. If not, I will post a part 3. I went a little overboard, but there's just so much. There was way more information than I anticipated. So, without further ado, we're going to start with the Hawthorne Hotel. It was built in 1925. The location sits on what used to be the Franklin Building, built in the early 1800s and became headquarters for the Salem Marine Society, acquired by Sea Captain Thomas Perkins in 1838. It was damaged by a fire twice between 1863 and 1864, and the Marine Society demanded reconstruction, but the Civil War started and it had to be put on hold. In 1923, prominent members of Salem agreed to a hotel, and they began construction in 1924. Changed its name temporarily to the Hawthorne Motor Hotel in the 1950s due to the growing demand of cars. It is often ranked as one of the most haunted hotels in America, and guests have reported moving furniture, sightings of a ghostly woman, and unexplained noises. Some fun facts: Bewitched filmed an episode in one of the elevators in 1970. In 2007, ghost hunters visited the hotel. It's rumored that room 325 is the most haunted, and room 612 and the entire sixth floor have reported seeing a woman walking the halls. In room 612, it is reported that an apparition of a woman is wandering the halls outside the room, often pushing in front of the door. In the room, guests have complained about an uneasy feeling as if someone was sharing the room with them. They weren't alone. The hotel is said to be built on the spot where Bridget Bishop's apple orchard was, and some claims to have encountered her spirit within the hotel. And a lot of people believe that the woman on the sixth floor and room 612 is Bridget. And women often see her standing still in front of the room. Room 325, it's actually 4 rooms with a bathroom and a shower closet, and it said shower closet because it literally looks like a closet, but there's a shower in it. People have reported sounds of a child crying, invisible hands touching, the bathroom lights and plumbing turning on and off on their own. A clerk reported that a couple who checked in had no knowledge of the hauntings. They swore up and down that they had never heard of these hauntings. And when they checked out, their daughter mentioned hearing a child crying during the night. Visitors have experienced odd sensations near these rooms and hear ghostly voices. Some have detected the smell of apples. One employee refuses to work nights ever again during his evening shift after cleaning a room. He went to get supplies and returned to find the room was entirely reorganized. That is so crazy. And what a fast ghost to be reorganizing an entire room in however long it took him to get supplies. I feel like it wouldn't have taken that long. I'd be freaked out too. The hotel's restaurant, the tavern, there is a ship's wheel on display. And this ship's wheel was used on a ship, like a real ship. The display will turn back and forth. Guests report furniture moving independently, strange sounds and smells, and ghostly sightings. And last fun fact, in 1990, the hotel held a seance to try and contact Houdini, the man himself. Did they get in touch with Houdini? I have no idea. I'm a little skeptical, but hey, if they got a hold of Houdini, then hell yeah, you got a hold of Houdini. I want to know what that conversation was, though. They never report these things. All right, next, and I've mentioned this before, is Proctor's Ledge. So with Proctor's Ledge, there was poor record keeping, and historians have argued where the actual place of Proctor's Ledge, Gallows Hill, is actually, and the available records were deemed too hard to interpret. Salem's Historical Society, though, now states that Proctor's Ledge is the execution site for many of the accused. Many corpses never got a proper burial and were dumped around the surrounding area, as it was considered dangerous to touch the body of a witch. A memorial was dedicated by the city of Salem July 19th, 2017, on the 325th anniversary of the executions of Sarah Good, Elizabeth Howe, Rebecca Nurse, and Sarah Wilds. It is approximately a mile outside of the city of Salem in a residential neighborhood, and parking is not permitted at the Walgreens. I am just pointing this out because I don't want you to get in trouble if you go and visit. Salem is very strict on their parking. I promise you, you do not want to park somewhere where they do not want you to park. They have way too much to deal with, and they will move you. So, they recommend that you go to the Salem Witch Trials Memorial adjacent to the Charter Street Cemetery. And I highly recommend going to that one anyway because it's a bigger space. There's actual like ledges underneath the names for, I want to say offerings, because that's what they are to me, whatever they are to you. But a lot of people do put down flowers and different stuff on these ledges. And the cemetery is really cool. It's very interesting. And the way that they did the memorial, it is in a spot so that the people who did this to them are forever, I say this in quotations, looking at them and them looking at their accusers. I thought that was ingenious, but highly recommend going to that one either way. So legend goes after the hangings, including those from the witch trials, Sheriff Corwin would have men throw the bodies into a ditch or a crevice. At Gallows Hill, or where many assume it is to be, there is no appropriate ditch or crevice to throw the body. There was, though, a smaller hill nearby that fit the description perfectly, and that is the real Gallows Hill. At least that's what I found. If it's not, please don't come at me. That is what my research has shown. Currently, this space is now a baseball diamond and children's park. Allegedly, bone fragments have been found. There is debate on whether these skeletal remains belong to the 1692 witch trial victims, but without DNA, that's a little hard. An unearthed record of the late 18th century delivered news of a mass excavation and found in the general area of Gallows Hill. Immediately, it was largely assumed that the remains had to be those of the condemned. Only the record also made note of a piece of coffin found in the mix, and many historians have since pointed out the victims were buried sans coffins. Somehow they did put the bodies in the coffins and bury them. And I say somehow because I just read that they wouldn't touch the bodies because it was not a good thing to touch the body of a witch. I know where they came up with these things, but where did they come up with these things? There are claims that Philip English, the husband of Mary, one of the accused, actually moved the remaining victims after their hangings. Where? That is also largely up for debate. It is believed that the bodies were placed in a church cellar in Marblehead. And if I remember correctly, because we did go to Marblehead, that was like a 45-minute drive. And we paid for an Uber. It was great. The Salem Night Tour owner, Tim McGuire, claims Gallows Hill has been the site of multiple suicides as well as truly inexplicable phenomena. There have been full-bodied apparitions spotted in the woods, disembodied voices shrieking in the middle of the night. People still worry about demonic happenings. Here's a fun fact. In 1992, nearly 200 people gathered from various churches. The Salem Evening News claimed close to 100 gathered on top of Gallows Hill, raised their arms, and chanted, "The curse over Salem with witchcraft is broken." Then they circled the tower on top of that hill, which is decorated with a drawing of a witch, and performing a laying on the hands ceremonial thing on the tower as a sign of spiritual healing. As a previous person of the Christian church, I get it, I think. But mainly we did that to people. I've never seen that to a building. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if it worked. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but I feel like it didn't because they said that the curse over Salem with witchcraft is broken, but there's still a lot of witches. I feel like if the curse of witchcraft in Salem was a thing, then there would be no witches in Salem. That's just my logic. That's just my logic. That is my thinking. That is my opinion. That's that. So, for many who visit, they are immediately consumed with a sense of foreboding dread. Ghost guides who would make the trek up the hill no longer do so, convinced that something evil lurks in the area. One company put it, something occurs at this one eerie spot, and it's not uncommon to see guests burst into tears upon entering the area. Strange noises emerge from the area at night, knocking and thumping that wakes up members of the neighborhood from their sleep. Imagine you are sleeping. You are sleeping. You are dead asleep. You're dreaming of unicorns and butterflies and happiness. I hope you're dreaming of happiness. That's my good vibe to you. And then there's this loud knocking and thumping coming from the trees across the street, but there's nothing there. And it keeps you up at night. That just sounds annoying. Terrifying and annoying. Kudos to the people who live in that area, if that is a thing. Next, we have Salem's first church. It is now Rockefeller's restaurant, built over ancient tunnels that were common in this time. It has been a bank, a grocery store, and now the restaurant. Built in 1634, even though it had been transferred and moved over the years, it had remained open until 1923. On April 11th, 1694, Elizabeth and John Proctor were taken to the church's meeting house to be questioned. This is the start of the unfortunate series of events that will soon follow. A young troublemaker, Mercy Lewis, claimed the Proctors were tormenting her. By pinching and tearing at her bowels from the inside, Mercy claimed that the Proctors were practitioners of the dark arts and harassed her continually. The Proctors led upstanding Christian lives. They were highly regarded in Salem by everybody. So their friends made a petition to drop the charges against the Proctors because it made absolutely no sense. Because of this, in the questioning of Mercy's claims and their validity, she recanted her accusations and said she was just having a little bit of fun. This is where maybe you'll start understanding, if you haven't or don't know or whatever, my opinion of these girls were just bored and ended up having mass hysteria ensue throughout this town because these children were bored. People died. I still can't wrap my head around that. It's infuriating, to be completely honest. Lewis, Mercy, and her friends continued pointing fingers, and this led to a doctor to perform examinations on John and Elizabeth in search of birth defects, moles, and other markings. They believed that a mole was a mark of a witch. There were no defects or markings on either of them. There were none at all whatsoever, but they were still found guilty. And on August 5th, 1692, both were sentenced to execution. On August 19th, John was executed, and Elizabeth was pregnant, so until the baby was born, they gave her a stay of execution. The same girls accused the governor's wife, Lady Mary Phipps, of witchcraft. It was at that point William Phipps, the governor, immediately released 153 prisoners who were currently awaiting trial for the alleged practice of witchcraft. Luckily, Elizabeth Proctor was one of those prisoners. In the First Church of Salem, it is said that there was a young maiden named Sarah who an older sea captain loved. And Sarah lived for this young sailor. Her heart beat for him, and she planned to run away with the sailor when the captain left for sea. He found out her plans, and the elder captain allegedly struck her with a plank, killing her in the alleyway alongside the first church. Distraught, the captain employed the help of the church's minister to assist in the burial within the underground tunnels, and the minister later committed suicide over his actions. Sarah is known as the Blue Lady, and she has been reported to be seen within Rockefeller's walls as well as the minister. So often is Sarah said to be seen that the restaurant even named a drink after her. That is it. That is the end. we made it through part 2 of the Salem ghosts. And we can move on to Dogman on Friday. Kind of excited for Dogman. I'm learning a lot. I also want to thank everyone who's listened. And I know there's probably only like 6 of you, but that's fine. Thank you for listening and possibly following me on TikTok. I'm assuming that's how you found me. Um, I know some people have listened on YouTube. So YouTube people, thank you. Apple Music and Spotify, also thank you. Again, I know there's probably only like 6 of you in total, but I'll take the 6. Again, I've posted this before. Let me know if you have any requests. I am more than happy to take requests. I have another request about a giant spider that looks really freaking terrifying. So I'm excited to dive into that as well. I'm trying to space out cryptids and abandoned places and legends of hauntings in certain places. I'm trying to like space it out so you're not having like cryptid, abandoned place. You know, I don't want multiples of the same thing straight in a row. So the spider may come in like 2 or 3 weeks. We're doing Dogman on Friday. And I have an idea for the week after, but also I might have another idea for the week after. So things are coming. Good, awesome, fun things are coming. And last but not least, we're counting down. We're close to it being a month till the road trip. I'm so excited. I'm excited to share this experience with you. I will be talking to locals, we'll be going to different places and learning different legends and myths and all of that. So stay tuned for that. And if things go my way, because I have to talk to my husband because it's a little out of the way during the road trip and where we're going and the route we are trying to take, there will be a really special episode. And I hope it goes my way because I'm really excited if I get to do this episode. I think I can get him to go out of the way. But also, I don't want to have all of my marbles in the bag on it. So I will let you know. And I'm also going to say this. If I do get to do this episode, you're not going to know what it is until the day of because I want to keep it a surprise because I'm so excited. And just so you are also aware, I will be going live on platforms for that episode. So you'll get a podcast, a video, and some spooky stuff and a live as I'm doing stuff. So stay tuned for that. I'm really hoping. I think we can work it in. I'll keep you posted. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for following. I really, really appreciate it. More things are coming, obviously. And I will sign off now. If you go ghost hunting, don't forget the salt. And as always, stay spooky. Chasing Legends.